What's up, gamers? This is Yuban with a Mechabellum Replay commentary. Today we are simply going to showcase a good old-fashioned asymmetrical Scorpion and Mustang push. We were feeling spicy and aggro on this day, and we laid our eyes on the Rhino spec with Sabertooth and Fangs. I think the Sabertooth starting pack is still very solid in this current meta. It's strong against most other 200 supply units except for the Sledgehammer. And if opponent goes for Void Eye, that's even more devastating. So we're off to a not so hot starting matchup. Our opponent is PlayArcher, a long-time top world ranking player who also competes in the Mag 1 tournament. Going for the Sledgehammer, Marksman, Fortified spec. So these Sledgehammers are even more tanky. Even though they get one-shotted by the Saber, they can tank more Arclight shots. We decided to set up our Fangs right in front of our Arclights to create some chaff situation to soak up the marksman damage, and also recognizing that the Fangs, if we ever decide to get portable shield, they can do really well against opponent's Sledgehammer if he chooses to lean into the units for chaff clear. Coming into round 1, opponent predicted that we were going to be pushing the left side tower and deployed all his chaff and damage dealing units on this left side here. Look at this Arclight stuck shooting at one Sledgehammer. So sad, man. And for us, we decided to sell out of our cannon to start our cell tempo. And you can see the power of having Sledgehammers and chaff in the first round is a overwhelming victory against our, I would say, traditionally very powerful aggro push. Like this kind of setup wins in a lot of scenario. Anyways, round 2 unit reinforcement immediately looked at the Mustangs or Wasp. And here the thought process is the same as always. If we grab the Wasp and opponent grabs a Mustang, we lose the matchup. So it's safer to take the Mustang. And Mustangs in this case complements the Sabertooth quite well. I have been enjoying playing carry Saber with carry Mustangs in the back lately. From here, we just go for a typical round 2 move in getting 3 chaff packs with 1 Fang on the side to protect the weak side tower. Here, I thought we made our first major mistake to lead to a tempo loss in this game. That is, we upgraded this tower to level 2. We had 100 supply left from selling our cannon. And we thought, okay, let's put the Fangs over here to protect against the potential Wasp or maybe Phoenix for early tower debuff. And then with the 100 supply, I ran out of time thinking, hey, maybe I should just reinforce this tower early on so I don't have to think about it and we can deter our opponent from ever trying to push it. However, by sinking 200 supplies on our weak side tower, while opponent put down all of his supplies, his 400 supplies on setting up his defensive board, it's going to make our asym push very, very weak in comparison. And you're going to see that our opponent simply just has way more chaff packs coming in. And that results in our Sabertooth getting locked on by the marksman very early. And the result is an overwhelming victory from our opponent's side, sending us down to 3000 HP on going into round 3 already. Since none of us are playing any big units at the moment on round 3, we both decided to sell it. Here is when we decided to make a rapid transition out of the Sabertooth. We recognize that the Sabertooth simply take way too long to take care of the sledgehammers. We needed something with a splash and can deal with these tanky units in the front very quickly. So we decided, because we had the cell tempo already unlocked, we sold out of our cannons already. This makes the round 3 the perfect round to get into the Scorpion, but because we were able to sell out of the Sabertooth. And from here, we simply went for one more pack of chaff in front, not thinking that our opponent's going to grab an arc light here. And both my opponent and myself decided to grab the arc light range. Look at this look at this newly employed Scorpion here, doing very well against the pack of sledgehammers, actually taking them out with a little more HP left to boot. So even though we lost this round once again, we were already feeling a lot better with our decision of going Scorpion and reinforcing the corner here for chaff clear. Round 4 bombard, without any hesitation, both of us decided to pick it up. With our opponent's board being fairly stationary and exactly the width of the bombardment, this was a perfect spell for us to regain some much needed tempo, as we have lost 3 rounds in a row. If we do it 2 more times, we're most likely dead. Luckily, this is also the same round that we get our power spike in the form of a 40,000 HP unit, the level 2 Rhino. We decided to put this Rhino dead center, 2 tiles behind, maybe 1 tile behind the crawler, to distract any of the center facing arc lights and marksmen. And later on, we even have the potential to beacon this guy to the right side tower if we choose to, by placing it in the center. From here, we just reinforce our board by going a little bit wider with another Scorpion. Here is something I've been experimenting and trying to conceptualize lately. That is the width of our board in comparison to our opponents. Meaning that we always want to set up a attacking board or a defensive board that is a few tiles wider than our opponents, so we can create this kind of concave attack situation. If we end up being on the more narrow side, your units end up just getting distracted a lot more from all the units coming from all directions. I'm not sure how sound that is, but that's how I have been approaching my game lately. With now finally 3 Scorpions on the board and the bombardment helping, seems like we're no longer stuck shooting on the sledgehammers. That means even though we only have 3 arc lights on the board, they're able to actually do their job, which is to lock onto the chaff units and help us clear the path for the Scorpions to shoot at. With a favorable bombardment and a nice shield to help protect our arc lights and chaff units, seems like we're finally able to strike back on round 4 after winning the first 3 rounds in a pretty devastating fashion. And now let's just wait for these hero crawlers to come back to their death. Round 5, reinforcement. Firebomb is incredible. We could have gone for maybe a haste module for the Mustang, but here I thought we are for sure going to get firebombed. Or as a attacker, there is no way for us to block out the fire except for using sprinklers on the right on the line. So we thought maybe we can also fire our opponent's board, because right now it's clearly a battle of chaff clear. If we can clear chaff, that means our tanky scorpions, they won't care about walking in the water, in the fire, and they won't care about the marksman shots too much as long as we can take them out before our scorpions die. So we decided to go for this slightly diagonal fire. We didn't want to get too greedy and put it on top of the marksman. We know that if we want to kill the mustangs, we need to put the fire closer in. However, the likelihood of our opponent doing this, putting down 1 or 2 shields to protect his fragile units, is very high. And this is why we decided to go for this more conservative diagonal fire, making sure we can at least kill the crawlers that are coming from the back. Along with that, we decided to grab the range enhancement on the Scorpion, allowing them to stay back, actually shielding, kind of protected from the marksman a bit longer. And most importantly, because Scorpions just simply move so slowly, having the range allows us to match up with the untacked marksman, allowing us to not die to the marksman that easily, essentially. And you'll see here, with all the chaff gone, we're able to push very hard into the center of the board. However, with some late arriving fangs, our left side still struggled a little bit. Luckily, the Scorpion is tanky and is able to clean up the rest of the board, allowing us to take 2 rounds in a row since we transitioned into the mass Scorpion. Now, going into round 6, unit reinforcement, opponent immediately went for the melting point, recognizing that if we go for heavier into the rhinos, maybe with the armor attack, he's going to have an even harder time taking it down. So the melter seemed like a very good choice. And also melting point with range enhancement can outrange the scorpions quite a bit. On our side, we thought to ourselves, we are right now really weak to a abyss transition from our opponent. That is the bane of the Scorpion Mustang composition. So let's pick up a insurance policy in the form of a level 4 Phoenix. And if our opponent ever goes for Abyss, we can get range and we can get launcher overload to take it out. Coincidentally, it also deals pretty well against the melting point, as we have not a range advantage, but we have a DPS advantage to be able to burst them down at level 1. At this point, I really should have been thinking ahead about selling my Rhino, especially after the level 4 Phoenix and the level 1 Melter drop shown up in the unit drop round. However, being a little greedy guy, I thought maybe this Rhino can still get in front and can still cause some havoc by just soaking up 40,000 damage, buying us a little more time. And you'll see me here putting down a sledgehammer and crawler in the last round, trying to pull essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, 6 packs of units right into this corner for just the cost of 300. Now our opponent decided to go for a pack of Wasp to address it. And with our opponent's range enhanced melting point with 155 meters, if we lose the chaff war, our opponent's melting point are for sure going to be able to take out our scorpions with ease. Luckily, we didn't have any money to afford Mustang range yet. So for now, our Mustang is acting as our second layer of chaff. And with most of these arc lights being taken out, it seems like our Mustangs did a pretty good job tanking for our scorpions here. And with any luck, we might even be able to take out our opponent's level 1 melting point. Doesn't seem like it. With a nice transition into the melting point on the unit drop round, our opponent strikes back, and he's going to deal about 500 damage to our already pretty low health pool. Going into round 7, the redeployment card shows up. We were not looking too far into the Wasp Swarm because opponent is already into range Mustang. This is a level 2 tower, and we also have a similar defense against any kind of Wasp coming into our back line. Opponent decided to skip. Oh no, opponent decided to go for redeployment and move his Mustang a little bit forward. We chose to go for the redeployment as well after thinking long and hard, recognizing that maybe I don't need to sell the Rhino right now. Perhaps I can repurpose this guy away from the melting point, because besides this, the melting point, nothing else can kill the Rhino effectively on his board. And with a level 2 tower here, opponent must be feeling pretty comfortable with his situation. So perhaps we can exploit this weakness on the weak side tower. Now that we have redeployed our Rhino, we decided to add a level 2 arc lights to the side here to once again match the width of our opponent's board, just so we're not on the narrow side. And we decided to grab the Mustang range for the backline units. We should have recognized that our opponent was going to light the oil on fire this round. With this many packs of chaff units on the ground, this is a very juicy target. So if we were really good, we would have gotten sprinkler tech on the hounds ahead of time. But I thought we just simply had too many priorities that we're trying to set up, because we're trying to elite recruit and get a armor-piercing bullet tech on our Mustang, officially transitioning them into the carry unit of our choice, and then once again making our board wider than our opponent's. Let's hope with our temp range clicked, we will be able to keep the Mustangs out of harm's way for at least the beginning of this fight. And seems like that's exactly the case, as our Mustangs are able to stay back outside of the fire's range to clear all the chaff in the process, and that bought in just enough time for our units to get a tower debuff on the right side and take out the melting point in the process. And with this many units left alive, we're going to finally deal a major blow to our opponent's HP pool. Going into round 8, the unit reinforcement once again. This is likely the last round of the game if either one of us play it correctly. We don't need any chaff clear in the moment. We don't really want to play any void eyes into this board, as we already have scorpions for a single target DPS. And the Sabertooth is a little vulnerable to the melting point without range. So in the end, we decided to grab the Phantom Ray, recognizing that this right side tower was the MVP last round, which won us the round. Let's redeploy our Rhino away from this side and create a new kind of problem. Our thought process here was, opponent is likely going to put down some kind of ground DPS unit, or just just maybe like a melting point in this case for defense. So if we can have 6 individual medium units coming in that are also somewhat tanky and high DPS, perhaps they won't be able to deal with it. Here I made a mistake by redeploying my Rhino to the side here. Because of what I just said, we should have recognized that our opponent was going to put down something high DPS on the side. So either I should have gone for 1 pack of Crawler in front to protect, or I could have put the Rhino maybe behind our units for a little late arriving DPS here. However, well, regardless, let's see if our cheesy play here into the level 3 tower is going to pay off. From there, we sold out of our backline Arclight, recognizing opponent is not likely going to push for our level 2 tower, looking at all the units we have here. And we use that extra supply for some upgrades, get temp range, temp speed, and we're ready to make another push into our opponent's strong side defense once again. With this nice missile coming in, taking out all the fangs in the process, we're able to take out the fire badgers very quickly, allowing these annoying crawlers to get in. And look at our right side push here. With this many individual units and the level 2 Mustangs, we're able to take out the level 3 tower, take out the melting point in the process. And this tower debuff allowed us to expose the level 2 tower on the left. And with this chain of events of tower debuffs, we were finally able to push through our opponent's ironclad defense and grab us a victory. This was the first time we have played against PlayArcher in probably 2 seasons, and the first time we have beaten him, so we were pretty excited about this game. I thought in general this was a pretty standard setup of Scorpion Mustang. However, this time a few things helped us turn the game around after losing the first 3 rounds. One was recognizing that the Sabertooth were doing really poorly into the sledgehammers. So we sold out of the Saber on round 3. The old me would have tried to force more Sabertooth with secondary armament to push through, as you may have seen some of the other games that I've done that. So in this case, we transitioned early. Second thing we started to pay attention to was the width of our board. Notice that at the very last round, we decided to make our push even wider, essentially allowing us to overwhelm this outside edge of units by having an extra layer of units coming in from a different direction. And lastly, obviously the MVP was our Power Spike Rhino with the beacon plays in round 7 and round 8, allowing us to grab a mid-round advantage in the form of tower debuff. And don't forget our distraction sledgehammer here, pulling tons of units away from the main battle. Yeah, that concludes our replay commentary for today. I hope you enjoyed the game as much as I did. Make sure you check out our other replay commentary videos in the playlist above. Thanks for watching. Until next time.